The 9-0 unbeaten Kansas Jayhawks look to continue their winning ways, as today we're headed to Provo, Utah to face off against Zach Wilson University, the BYU Cougars. Obviously, the 2024 season has gone really well for us. Even though we're 9-0, many of our wins have come down to the wire. That was not the case last week, playing against a strong Iowa State team in what ended up being one of our less competitive games of the year. We absolutely demolished them 42-14, which is a surprise considering we've had much closer games against significantly inferior opponents. But this was a big win for us, really proving ourselves against one of the better teams within the conference. Jalen Daniels had a huge day through the air, a season-high 382 passing yards and 3 touchdowns on 75% completion percentage. The run game was pretty solid through the air. Luke Grimm has been red hot, legitimately one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12 right now. And then the defense, who's been up and down throughout Big 12 play, was fantastic, coming off back-to-back weeks of allowing 40-plus points. Albeit both of those games went into multiple overtimes, but still, this was a really good showing defensively against a very solid Cyclone offense. Despite the win, we moved down from number 5 to number 6, being jumped by 9-1 Miami. Nonetheless, we are still, of course, projected to make the playoff, slated as the 6th team in, and if the season were to end today, we would play against Alabama in the first round. But obviously, one of us or Utah is bound to lose at some point, whether it's in the regular season or in potentially the conference championship if we both make it there. Jalen Daniels currently fit for the Heisman watch, along with many other players very high within their respective award races. And then, of course, us in Utah comfortably atop the Big 12 conference. There's nobody with one loss here. It's us and then a noticeable gap. So even if we do lose one game the rest of the way, we are guaranteed to make the conference championship. And even if we drop 2 of 3, there's still a real shot that we get in. Nonetheless, I don't want it to get to that point. Let's keep winning. So somebody like Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, UCF, they can't catch up because those are 3 really solid teams. And I would think at least one of them runs to the table and goes undefeated the rest of the way. So before we talk about our matchup against BYU, we've got some recruiting stuff to go over. We've got a number of commits to the program this week, including JUCO wide receiver Mario Maddox, a player who I'm really excited about. He may not be the biggest, only 5'8", 200 pounds, but I think he's going to take over the Luke Grimm role in the slot as early as next year. Again, we're only going to have him for 2 years as a JUCO player, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's the best receiver on the roster next year. That's how highly I think of him, and also speaks to the lack of returning talent we have at wide receiver. Tight end Isaiah Lamore, a 4-star from Lee Summit High School in Lee Summit, Missouri. One of the best players on our recruiting board, period. A kid who has a real shot to compete and start for us day one as a true freshman, but even if not, I think this is our long-term starting tight end, assuming his development goes to plan. And then 3-star JUCO offensive tackle Ahmad Dunham, the JUCO teammate of wide receiver Mario Maddox. Ultimately, the two of them end up committing to the program in the same week, which is really cool. So 3 new players joining the program. None of these were surprises. Maddox was the only race that I was thinking was getting a little bit competitive with Georgia Tech, but I'm happy we got him to commit now before he could visit the Yellow Jackets, which was scheduled for this week. A number of players have narrowed down their lists to 3 schools. We're in first place for all of them, and we're going to go over a number of those players with a film review today. But first off, I do want to point out that our class ranking is going to be continuing to grow given the 3 new commits we have, along with obviously the talent who we already have committed to the program. We now have 3 4-stars and 8 3-stars, which puts us as the 27th ranked class in the country, and the 2nd in the conference, only behind Baylor, which is a little bit of a surprise considering they've been one of the worst teams in the Big 12 this year. The amount of players left on the board who are uncommitted is dropping significantly, and I think we're going to get 4 or 5 players to commit to us or somebody else before next week. We've already highlighted Devontae Crispin, but everybody else here we haven't gone over yet. So we've got a number of players to talk about today, most notably 3-star athlete DeAndre Rainbolt, who of course is a quarterback. Obviously, QB is a position of need for us. Jalen Daniels is gone at the end of the year. I like Isaiah Marshall. I think he's got a chance to compete for the starting job next year. but he's only going to be a redshirt freshman. We're certainly going to explore the transfer portal, and obviously we've gone after QB quite a bit. We lost the battle for George Shembo, but we did land Clyde Poole. Assuming Rain Bolt does commit to the program, it'll be him and Poole joining the QB room, and as I compare the two of them, I think Poole's ratings are better across the board. Stronger arm, better accuracy, he's faster as well, yet DeAndre Rainbolt is ranked significantly higher, and he's a gem. Something else I noticed was interesting. For the playing time grade, Clyde Poole is an A+, and Rainbolt is a D+. So that leaves me to believe that Clyde Poole is in fact better than DeAndre Rainbolt in terms of overall rating right now. But considering Rainbolt is ranked considerably higher than him as a prospect, and again is a gem, this leads me to believe that Rainbolt is going to have a very high development trait, and because of that, he's got a real shot to be our long-term quarterback of the future. If that's the case, I'm really intrigued by the skill set. The 3-star from McKinley High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is regularly the best athlete on the field. He is dynamic with the football in his hands at 6'3", 215 pounds. He's got solid arm strength, not as strong of a cannon as Clyde Poole, but 88 throw power is nothing to scoff at. I think his accuracies are pretty good as well for a freshman, so combine that with the size, speed, and explosiveness he brings to the table, and I think we could be looking at a really good player. Even though he might be a little bit more raw than we would expect with his ranking, I think the long-term upside with him is really, really high, and I'm excited about the likelihood of us landing him. There's a few other guys who are likely to commit somewhere within the next week or so, hopefully here, including running back Kane McKeithen from Dunbar High School in Fort Worth, Texas. McKeithen is a 3-star. He's more of a power back, somebody who can give you a lot of short yards, and the ratings here back it up. He doesn't necessarily have elite explosiveness, but he's strong, high truck rating, high break tackle rating. It's been a close battle with us and SMU, but with his recent visit to our campus, I think we've begun to run away with it, and I would be shocked if he does not commit to the program. These two offensive linemen, the races are a little bit more competitive, specifically with right tackle Nicholas Perkins. And while we do have the lead over North Carolina, they are making up ground fast. And I would say it's really 50-50 on whether he comes here or to UNC. Perkins is not a top 1,100 player in the class, but I still like him. 6'5", 324 pounds. And what you'll notice with Perkins is that he moves really well for his size. He's from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Douglas Byrd High School, so obviously there's plenty of allure for him to stay at home, go to UNC, but I do think we slightly hit the upper hand. Offensive guard Cameron Hardwick is a very solid JUCO option. We have the lead right now, but Kentucky is starting to express some interest. I think it's going to be too little too late for them, as it's another JUCO offensive lineman expected to join the program. I like the idea of getting JUCO players because these guys are farther along and can potentially compete for starting spots within the near future. Hardrick is playing for Kilgore College, a JUCO program in the state of Texas, and this is another guy who wins with his athleticism, but also has pretty good size, 6'4", 309 pounds, really high lead block and impact blocking ratings. And then the other guy who I expect to commit within the next week or so is safety Javier Ayanbadejo. He just visited our campus this past week, and I think that's going to be enough to ultimately seal his commitment. It's been a really close race with us and Fresno State, but I think the visit is ultimately going to win him over. Ayanbadejo is one of our higher-ranked 3-stars, the 433rd ranked player in the country, playing for Oceanside High School in Oceanside, California. I think this kid potentially has a future on our defense, but I don't know where. He's listed as a free safety. I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going to stick there because he does not have good zone coverage. I don't see him as a prototypical center field type of safety, but rather I think this is somebody who can play inside on nickel and dime packages, maybe a sub linebacker option, even though he's a little bit undersized for that at 5'11", 192. He's kind of a tweener, but I'm still intrigued by the talent. I'm expecting at least 4, hopefully all 5 of these players to commit. I think Perkins is the only one where we're a little bit on the edge, but otherwise, I think everybody from this group will join the squad. So let's figure out how we're going to use these 235 recruiting hours. With less and less players on the board, there's less pressure in terms of how we utilize our remaining hours. We will offer a visit to tight end Zach Stokes. I'm pretty sure he's the lowest ranked player on the entire board. but I'm still intrigued by him. Never hurts to add more depth at tight end. He's going to visit in Week 13 as we face off against the University of Colorado, which of course will be in the next episode. From there, this is how we're going to use the rest of our points, putting a lot of influence into these guys just so they can commit as soon as possible. I don't really want to offer a ton of points to the battles that I don't think are going to be won during the season, because I want to be able to have as much ammo for the transfer portal as possible. So because of that, we're really going to simmer down on recruiting over the next couple of weeks. So from there, we are now set up for our in-conference matchup against BYU. And if you look at their record, 3-6, 1-5 in conference, that doesn't look too good. But when you take a look at their schedule, they've played some really good teams and lost a lot of really close matchups. They barely lost to SMU, who's ranked number 7. Barely lost to Kansas State. Beat Arizona. Got blasted by Oklahoma State, but they only lost to UCF by 2, and then they took Utah to overtime on the road. I feel like BYU is the complete opposite of us in the sense that they are playing to their level of competition and not getting lucky and losing a lot of these games, whereas we have played to the level of our competition as well, and we're finding a way to win all these games. So even though we're 9-0 and they're 3-6, I feel like the gap between these two teams really is not that big. Senior quarterback Jerry Bohannon, the transfer from Baylor, leads the way, along with sophomore back L.J. Martin, one of the talented young offensive players in this conference. So again, even though these two teams' records are very far apart, BYU is in danger of not being bowl eligible if they lose this game, whereas we're one of 3 undefeated teams left in the country. But again, I really don't think the gap is all that big, given that realistically, we should be closer to like 6-3 with all these close wins we've had. And BYU should probably be closer to like 6-3, given all these close losses against really good teams, such as Utah and UCF and SMU on the road for the most part as well. Now they're at home, which certainly goes to their advantage. So BYU will start with the football. We'll take a look at Bohannon, who's been the starter at Baylor over the last couple of years before transferring within the conference to BYU. 3rd and 3, it's the sophomore running back L.J. Martin, and he does not get the first down. O.J. Burrows leads the cavalry of defenders in the backfield. Kansas gets to stop, and they'll get the ball for the first time today as we look at Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal, and the squad. And they'll open things up here with a 2nd and 8 from close to the 40-yard line. Jalen Daniels under pressure. He is quickly sacked. Ben Bywater brings him down, and that'll make it a 3rd down and long for the Jayhawks. Daniels steps up in the pocket with rushing room, has the first, but he fumbles the ball, and it's picked up by BYU. That looked like a potential great play for Daniels as he's able to escape through defenders, get the first down, but he coughs up the ball. It's Harrison Taggart, the transfer from Oregon, who rips it away, and Ben Bywater, who had the sack on the previous play, with the recovery, and BYU's going to get possession of the ball around midfield. If there's one thing Jalen Daniels has done a bad job with, it's the fumbles. He's coughed up the ball 3 weeks in a row, but obviously otherwise he's been fantastic, of course. 2nd and 7 up the middle. A nice play after the catch here by Cody Epps, and he gets a big first down gain, bringing BYU inside the 35-yard line. Following play here for the Cougars, Bohannon hands it off to the secondary running back Miles Davis. Bounces off a blocker, gets a first down, gaining 14 yards, and now they've got it at like the half-yard line. 2nd and goal. Can they punch it in? It's a toss. Martin does not get it. Breaks the tackle, but is going backwards for a loss of around 3. So that'll make it a big 3rd and goal here after the TFL. Short pass is caught for a touchdown. Cody Epps with the score. And BYU strikes first as it is 7-0 in favor of the Cougars. So Kansas gets it back after allowing the touchdown. We'll see if they can respond off the turnover as it's play action. Daniels under pressure as Lawrence Arnold wide open. Tries to get by the safety as he gets around 23 yards. A big play there from Arnold, who was completely uncovered. Nobody near the middle of the field to stop him. 3rd and 4. Daniels evades the sack. Goes short. It's caught. And that is Savion Morrison who's able to get the first down. What a play by Jalen Daniels, avoiding the sack, keeping the drive going. 2nd and 10 inside the 30. Up the middle, Devin Neal. First down into the red zone as the Jayhawks now have it at around the 17-yard line. And they're moving it well here. 2nd and 10. Neal up the gut. Going backwards. It's a loss of around 2. Nice play there by the BYU defense. It's John Nelson who brings him down. 3rd and 13. Daniels under pressure, rolls right, looking for the end zone. It's incomplete. He was hit as he threw it. It looked like Quentin Skinner was wide open there, but right as he was making the pass, the hit jars the ball for an incompletion, and that'll wrap up the first quarter. 7-0 BYU. But Kansas is likely about to score if all goes well here. 37-yard try for Owen Piper-Gerdes, who's been close to automatic since week 1. Doink! Off the crossbar! No good! And it remains 7-0. So Owen Piper-Gerdes misses in the red zone. He's been really good since the start of the year, but that one is not able to make it through, and the Cougars hold on to their lead as they will get the ball back, potentially looking to make it a 2-score game. 2nd and 1 here from just outside the 30. Handoff for L.J. Martin, and he is smothered in the backfield by the true freshman, Damani Maxon. 3rd and 3, handoff up the middle. L.J. Martin spins away from the tackle and somehow gets the first down. I don't really know how they pulled that one off, but it works. Direct snap here for Martin on 2nd and 2. Huge gain for L.J. Martin as he's wrapped up near the 40 by Devin Dye. BYU's offense has been really solid today, but can they convert on 3rd and 9? Up the middle, not much there for Cody Epps. He gets nothing. And BYU's going to have to punt it away. So Kansas gets it back. The defense gets the stop. Daniels rolls right here on 1st down. Takes a shot, and it's caught by Casey. Past the 50. A huge gain for Jared Casey, the senior tight end, as he ends up gaining 36. Now from around the 32-yard line on 1st down, it's a toss over to Luke Grimm. The Grim Reaper with the 1st down and a juke move, as he gets it inside the 20. So Kansas is back in the red zone. They couldn't score last time they were here, as it's a fake for Grimm. Daniels looking for the end zone. He's got Neal, and this game is tied at 7. Jalen Daniels connects with his senior All-American running back, Devin Neal, for the touchdown, and we are knotted up. Big drive there from the Kansas offense. They certainly needed that one after struggling to score on the first couple possessions of the game. Good drive there by Jalen Daniels. He made some really nice throws, capped off by a great play there for a wide-open Devin Neal. And with that, we are tied at 7. Now at the 2-minute warning, BYU looking to score, regain the lead before half. 3rd and 1, Bohannon under pressure. Hit as he throws, and it is caught out of bounds and complete to Kaius Brinkley, the true freshman, with the pressure. So BYU punts it away. Kansas back with it. Here's Jalen Daniels under pressure. Sails it downfield. What a catch! Quentin Skinner hangs on before taking a shot afterwards, but he's able to keep possession of the ball for a 1st down. Daniels looking downfield early and often today. Here's Neal up the middle, jukes away from the defender, and he is gone! A 34-yard Devin Neal touchdown that will be coming back. An illegal block in the back on the wide receiver, Lawrence Arnold. So Kansas is going to move back to the 24-yard line as the touchdown is taken off the board. 2nd and 5 now with the game still tied at 7. Daniels looks to throw it. Backs up in the pocket. Now has room to run with it, and he will. Jalen Daniels out of bounds inside the 10. Another great job of him stepping up through pressure, able to get the 1st down. And now Kansas has it near the goal line. 1st and goal from the 9. Daniels for the end zone. He's intercepted! Micah Harper picks it off. And for the first time all year, Jalen Daniels has been intercepted. It took 9.5 games for Daniels to be picked off, but it's finally happened, and it's Micah Harper, the talented junior safety, who baits Daniels into throwing it up the middle for Arnold. He jumps the route, comes down with the turnover. That's now twice where Kansas has been in the red zone and has failed to score. This game remains tied at 7 very late in the half. Bohannon up the middle. That's a nice 1st down throw. And it is hauled in by the receiver, Keanu Hill. 1st and 10 from just before the 20. Up the middle, Cody Epps breaks the tackle. Another 1st down for the Cougars. And that'll wrap up the first half as they didn't really try to score quickly. 7-7, a low-scoring game. Our offense has been considerably better than theirs, but a missed field goal and a red zone turnover have kept us at just 7 points so far. We can't get in the red zone and fail like this. The little things is why we've been able to win all of these close games And so far here in this first half, it's costing us. Now, we still got plenty of time. It's not like we're losing per se. And we do start the second half with the ball. Other than the interception and the fumble, Jalen Daniels has been really good as a passer, but we still need some more out of the run game. Devin Neal's been kind of quiet, especially considering, obviously, the high standard he is held to. And so that'll bring us to the third quarter, starting at the 25. Handoff here to the right side for Devin Neal, who had the touchdown taken back earlier. He goes up the middle for a gain of around 11. Solid gain there for the KU offense, and they'll move the chains. Play action for Neal. Daniels' first pass of the third quarter is hauled in by Grimm. Down the field, the Grim Reaper to the 35. Another strong start for him. 5 catches for 63 yards. Following play, back to Grimm. Gets by the defender into the red zone as he brings it past the 20 to the 16. Kansas has failed twice in the red zone today. They can't let it happen again. Devin Neal tries to juke away from the defender, but he ultimately loses yards. 2nd and 13 now. Daniels has time. Up the middle. Fires for a conversion as that one is hauled in by Trevor Wilson, and the Jayhawks now have it inside the 5. 1st and goal. Daniels looks short for Morris and tries to dive in, but he fumbles it! And it's picked up by BYU. Another turnover in the red zone. The Cougars pick up the football, and Kansas is held off the board again. A missed field goal, an interception, and a fumble in the red zone today for the Kansas offense. Ace Kafusi with the force. The one good thing is that BYU starts at the 1. Golden opportunity for a safety, and that's exactly what happens. Devin Dye brings Martin down in the end zone, and so Kansas takes the lead after all. It's 9-7, and they'll get it right back on offense. Daniel steps up in the pocket on 2nd down, scrambles under pressure, and he's sacked. It looked like he hesitated as he was going to throw the ball. He had multiple receivers open downfield. He was going to make the right read, but he hesitated. On 3rd down, that one is incomplete, as it looked like he was trying to get it for Lawrence Arnold, and that leads to a punt. So BYU gets it back. A 9-7 ball game. Up the middle, that one is hauled in for a 1st down. Nice reception to move the chains for the Cougars. From around the 46 now, 2nd and 10. It's a play-action fake up the middle. Cody Epps breaks a tackle, and he is gone. Devin Dye will not catch him, and Cody Epps puts BYU back ahead. It looks like we've got another super close game on our hands. BYU plays up to competition. Kansas plays down to competition. So this was bound to happen. Regardless, a ridiculous play after the catch there by Cody Epps. It has been a rough one in coverage for Kobe Bryant today, who's had a fantastic year. He's been one of the best corners in the country, but Cody Epps has kind of owned him in this game. And it's now 14-9. Kansas back with it, and they'll start with a 3rd and 7. Daniels looks to throw it, has an open man. It's Luke Grimm for the 1st down past the 40. Good throw there by Daniels as he was starting to feel the pressure. Perfectly places that one on the money. It's an RPO screen for Lawrence Arnold. He gets the 1st down, jukes away from the defensive back, and gets a nice play after the catch to move the chains. 2nd and 1. Read option. Daniels keeps it. Another 1st down, weaving his way through defenders, and he gets it close to the 20 before sliding down. Kansas is back in the red zone. They have failed here 3 times today. No way it happens again, right? Daniels on the run, goes short for the 1st down. He wanted to go big for the end zone, but nobody was open, so he goes through his progressions and he makes the right throw. 3rd and goal. Devin Neal high-stepping into the end zone for a touchdown, and Kansas takes the lead. Thank God they actually scored in the red zone this time. 15-14, and obviously they will look to go for 2 here. I feel like we're late enough in the game to where going for 2 feels like the right move as we try to bring the lead up to 3. Daniels will throw it, rolls right, on the run, it's hauled in by Luke Grimm, and the Jayhawks are up 17-14. An 8-point drive for the Jayhawks, and BYU gets it back late in the 3rd with many players in motion here on 1st down, starting the drive inside the 20. RPO screen from Bohan, and it's hauled in by Parker Kingston, who's losing yardage. O.J. Burrows brings him down, and that'll wrap up the 3rd. Another red zone turnover for Kansas, but they take the lead 17-14 with a safety, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion as we look to add to our win streak, make it 10-0, keep our undefeated season, and keep our top 10 ranking alive as the regular season winds down and we get closer and closer to conference championships and then the playoff. 2nd and 11. Here's Jerry Bohannon up the middle, back to Parker Kingston, and this time it'll be a first down for BYU as they are able to move the chains, getting a solid gain. 2nd and 10 now for the Cougars. Bohannon looks to throw it once more up the middle. Kingston again with a first down past the 50. So far, Bohannon is abusing O.J. Burrows on this drive, allowing a couple of first down receptions. 3rd and 7. Looks like an attempted screen. It's nearly blown up by Jason Gilliam, but somehow they turn it into a first down. Nice conversion by BYU. Again, they'll move the chains. Play action on 2nd down. Bohannon looking downfield. It's caught for a touchdown. And the Cougars are back ahead. Chase Roberts with the score. And BYU is back ahead, 21-17. It looks like we're going to need another comeback. We've been in significantly stickier situations before, so this is nothing new to us, but still really nice throw by Jerry Bohannon and a good play after the catch by Roberts to break the tackle, push his way into the end zone, and it's now 21-17. 7.5 to go. 2nd and 3. Devin Neal with a 1st and more. Big play after the catch as he is out of bounds past the 45. Daniels now over 300 all-purpose yards. Looking to run with it. Rolls to the right under pressure. Looks downfield. He's got his man. It's Luke Grimm to the 10. Jalen Daniels does it again. He steps up in the pocket, rolls to the right, and finds a wide-open receiver. We'll see if Kansas can punch it in, though. 3rd down and 6. Daniels looks to throw it. Goes short. It is caught by Casey, and he is just shy of the end zone. 4th and 3 with a little over 5 minutes to go. I don't think it's too early to go for it. If we kick the field goal, we're still trailing. And even if we don't get this, BYU is back in safety territory. So let's see if Kansas can take the lead. 4th and 3. Daniels looks short. It's broken up. He was looking for Skinner, who cannot hold on to the ball. BYU gets the stop, and now the defense is going to have to make a play. We've got a flag here near the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to be on the defense. And offsides leading to a first down for BYU. We can't be making these mental mistakes. Again, the little things is the reason why we've won all of these games, and they continue to cost us today. So now BYU has a first down. Bohannon on the wheel route places it perfectly for Parker Kingston. Another conversion for the Cougars, and this clock is ticking away. 3rd and inches. Bohannon will throw it. Short pass is caught, and it will not go for the first down. Caleb Purdy with the tackle. Kansas gets it back with a chance to take the lead. Daniels on first down, rolls left. He will run. Gets a nice block and is out of bounds for a first down. Good run there by JD6, moving the chains as that brings us near the 2-minute warning. From the 43-yard line on first down, Daniels under pressure. He is sacked on the play again. Tyler Batty brings him down. Speaking of bad, that's what the Kansas offensive line has been. They have struggled in this game as that brings us to the 2-minute warning. 3rd down and 18 for the Jayhawk offense. Daniels, play action. You're not fooling anyone. He's got no time to throw it. Evades one sack, but can't get out of another. He loses 17 yards. It's Jack Kelly who brings him down. I know we're 35 yards out, but there's less than 2 minutes to go. I feel like you got to go for it here. So that's what Kansas is going to do in BYU's red zone. Daniels has time. He's going to have to throw it up, and he's hit. It's incomplete. BYU gets the stop. Now, we do have all 3 timeouts, and part of the reason why I was comfortable with going forward is because BYU is so close to the end zone. We should theoretically get the ball back, but the question is, will it still be a one-score game? Martin on first down. He is close to the first down marker, gaining around 10, and now we're going to have to start burning these timeouts. 2nd and inches for BYU inside the 10-yard line. 2nd and inches. It's Davis, and he is going backwards. Kansas with the stop, and now that brings us to a 3rd down and around 4. If BYU gets a first down, this game is over. The undefeated season on the line here for the Jayhawks. Bohannon hands it off. Davis got it! And BYU converts on 3rd down. Kansas uses their last timeout. This game is over. The Jayhawks lose for the first time this year 21-17, BYU with the upset, and clock strikes midnight for the undefeated Cinderella. Kansas ran out of luck, and it finally costs them. And on the inverse, BYU, who's been incredibly unlucky the entire year, finally ends up with a big win in one of these close games. So the undefeated season will not happen here for Kansas, but luckily with the 12-team playoff, it's not to worry. If there was only 4 teams in it, our season would probably be over. But we still have a good chance to make it, but we have a lot less margin for error, especially if we take a big tumble in the rankings. And we're going to have to play really good football over these next few weeks to ensure that we can get a spot. It's going to be harder to make it in the Big 12 as an at-large team than, say, the SEC or the Big 10. So if we don't win the conference championship, it's going to be really tight if we actually make it or not. Jerry Bohannon with a really solid day, had some impressive throws down the stretch. BYU's run game was solid, and obviously they were clutch on that last possession with the third down conversion from Davis. 9 catches for Kingston, 99 yards and 2 touchdowns for Epps. I thought their offensive line was incredible. We sent pretty much no pressure. While BYU in the front, they played well. First interception thrown by Daniels, and they forced 3 turnovers. The big reason why we lost this game isn't so much that we played poorly. I think Jalen Daniels played well. The receivers played well. Even though we didn't have much pass rush, the defense was fine. They only allowed 21 points. The reason why we lost this game was because of the little things. 4 failed red zone trips and 3 turnovers. Those are usually 2 categories of the game where we're ahead of the other team. Consistently forcing more turnovers, not giving the ball away on offense, and consistently capitalizing in the red zone. That's the reason why we lost today. It's really that simple. BYU really didn't beat us. We beat ourselves. Pause. So an unfortunate loss as we drop to 9-1 as we take on our first defeat of the season. Will this result be a sign of things to come around the rest of the country? Interestingly, there are no top 25 matchups this week. Every ranked team is playing an unranked team. Beforehand, though, I do want to take a look at all the conferences just to kind of show you guys where all of the main leagues are at. Of course, in the Big 12, it's still us and Utah as the front runners. Even with the loss, we're still in second place. We're still positioned to make the conference championship game if we win out. In the ACC, it feels like a 3-horse race. Miami, Virginia Tech, and SMU all control their own fate. All of them are in the top 10 and slated to make the playoff right now. A number of 2-loss teams, but I'd be surprised if they really make some noise. Oregon is a win away from clinching a spot in the Big 10 championship, and right now they're slated to play against Rutgers. It was a pretty easy schedule, so if they win out, it'll be them. But we've got a lot of 2-loss teams behind them, and even some 3-loss teams who still have a chance to get an at-large spot. In the SEC as well, Georgia, Alabama, A&M, Texas, all only have 1 loss within the conference. And right now, I do think these 4 teams control their own fate. If they win out, they're all going to the playoff. The problem is they're not all going to win out because Texas still plays A&M, and 2 of those teams still play in the conference championship. As for Group 5, Tulane leads the American. I would look out for North Texas. They're stingy. In Conference USA, it's Liberty with the edge, but they're still behind some of these other Group 5 teams, such as Tulane and Boise State. Notre Dame feels like a sleeping giant. They had that 2-game losing streak, but they've been playing well as of since. I think if they win out, they get an at-large spot. Toledo leads the MAC. I don't think the MAC will have the playoff representative, though. I could see it being Boise State. They're undefeated in the Mountain West. Their only loss was to a great Oregon team in a super close game, but they're without their starting quarterback and running back for much of the rest of the year. The Pac-2 is depressing, and then in the Sun Belt, App State and Texas State. Both of these teams, I feel like, have a shot to make the playoff if both Tulane and Boise State were to theoretically lose their conference championship games. I think the winner of the Fun Belt could end up making it in. So even though right now we're number 6, we're certainly going to drop. The question is how far. We're hopefully going to have some more upsets along the way because, again, there aren't any other top 25 matchups. A lot of really good teams facing off against not so good teams. So that means I feel like there's even more pressure to win these games because if you lose, you might take a big dip, such as us. So we'll start with number 1, 10-0, unbeaten Oregon, who advances to the Big Ten Championship officially with a win here against Wisconsin, and ultimately they dominated in this game. Jordan James ran all over the Badger defense. Oregon is now 11-0. They win it 42-12, and no matter what, Oregon is going to the Big Ten Championship, and of course, even if they lose out, they're going to the playoff. It's a guarantee. An 11-win Big Ten team, even if they were to theoretically lose out, they're making the playoff. They are comfy. They control their own fate, of course, for the #1 seed with a great game from Evan Stewart. And the weird thing about Wisconsin over the last couple of weeks is that this team is really bad at running the ball, which is obviously Wisconsin's forte. Run the rock. Their run game has not been good this year. So #1 Oregon wins. We'll see if #2 Texas has the same luck. They're facing off against a not-so-good Arkansas team. Now, unlike the Oregon matchup, this game ended up being a lot closer. The Longhorns would survive, though. They would win at 21-17. They hold on to their #2 ranking, and now have a record of 9-1. Now, Texas does have a pretty challenging schedule here down the stretch, including a matchup with Texas A&M in a couple of weeks. But they're in a good spot. I feel like unless they completely lose out and just fall flat on their face, they should be a playoff team. Now, Quinn Ewers did not have a particularly good game, and I feel like this has been the forte for Ewers throughout the year. He's been efficient, but I feel like he's not necessarily the reason why Texas is winning. They're winning with him, not because of him. Notre Dame and Virginia. I talked about Notre Dame as the sleeping giant, and, well, I don't think many people are going to be sleeping on them anymore because they dominated Virginia, winning this game 56-10. Now, I get Virginia's not some great team, but still, good golly. 15 rushing yards to 215 rushing yards. Big game through the air for Riley Patterson, who was a Heisman frontrunner early in the year. Obviously, he's kind of fallen out of the race, but he's still having a strong year. As for Virginia, they really had nothing going for them in this game. Dominant win for Notre Dame. If they beat USC in a couple of weeks, I don't see a world where Notre Dame does not get in the playoff. Rutgers in Maryland. Of course, as I said, Rutgers controls their own fate, but I wouldn't overlook this Maryland team because they're stingy. The Terps almost beat Oregon last week, so they can hang with just about anybody. And this ended up being a pretty competitive matchup once again. Ultimately, a fourth quarter comeback from the Scarlet Knights would help them avoid the upset and improve to 9-1 on this season. And Rutgers is that much closer to a conference championship date with the Ducks. Now, they still look vulnerable in this game, but again, Maryland kept it close with Oregon last week, so if you're Rutgers, that's got to make you feel a little bit better, considering Oregon's kind of the team to beat for them at this point. And I think we've made it to where even if Rutgers makes the conference championship and loses to Oregon, they still have a good shot of getting an at-large bid in the playoff to begin with. It's been a really disappointing season for the Tennessee Vols, but we'll see how they can match up against one of their SEC rivals, the Georgia Bulldogs, who are obviously certainly towards the top of the playoff contention list. But I feel like Georgia, kind of similar to us, has really played down to competition. Today, that was the case again. They won this game, but only by 3, 24-21. Georgia has played teams close this year, maybe too close. Carson Beck was solid, but again, I feel like he's been a little underwhelming this year, kind of like Quinn Ewers. I feel like Georgia's winning with him, and because of the talent they have around him, and not because of him. I'm excited to have the first quarterback prospect profile in the Broncos franchise because I feel like the QB board is going to look a lot different than it is in real life. Nebraska and USC. This ended up being the game of the week. Went into overtime, and obviously USC with 3 losses is pretty much playing for their playoff lives. If they lose, they're done. So Dante Dowdle will start the first overtime with a quick score for Nebraska. USC with it right back. Nobody's going to cover Deuce Robinson. Now we're still tied, and we're going to go into a second overtime. USC starts with the ball. Miller Moss fires for the end zone. Kyron Hudson with the score, but now in the second overtime, you got to go for 2. We'll see if USC can punch it in and make it an 8-point game as it's a pitch for the outside, and O'Neal is in. So now Nebraska's got to score, bring us to a third overtime. The true freshman, Dylan Raiola, fires for the back of the end zone. That's a touchdown. Now Nebraska's got to go for 2. Raiola looks to throw it. He's under pressure, can't find anybody open, sends it up, and it is broken away, incomplete. USC survives, 39-37. The Trojans are now 7-3. And as I talked about with Notre Dame, these two teams play against each other in Week 14. I really see that game as the winner makes it to the playoff as an at-large team and the loser is eliminated. Now, that would still require both of these teams to win in Week 13, but that feels like a winner-take-all matchup, and it certainly doesn't hurt that these two teams are bitter rivals. Let's head to Colorado. It's been a tough stretch for the Buffaloes. They've lost 3 in a row, and their next 2 matchups are against Utah and then Kansas. Not ideal. So this game ended up going about as you would expect. Utah with the win as they take this one 26-10. They are number 4, 10-0. Now with Oregon as the only undefeated teams left. Rough day in the office for Shedeur Sanders. He really struggled. I feel like over this last month or so, I've kind of gone on him pretty hard, but he deserves it. Shedeur Sanders is not playing good football. He went into the year as a projected first-round pick, and that has been completely tossed out the window with his struggles to throw the ball accurately. He's only thrown 2 interceptions. It's not that he's making the wrong reads. It's just that his accuracy has been not good, plain and simple. Good win for Utah, and that's going to be the last game we go over because there weren't a whole lot of interesting games. Every single top 25 team ended up winning. Well, that is except for one. Us. And we ended up dropping all the way to 16. So with us being the only team who ended up getting upset, we're going to take a nosedive in the rankings. I was excited to see some of these smaller schools beat up on these good top 25 teams, but the only one who got beat was us. Here's a look at the rest of the Big 12. Cincinnati over Iowa State. Good win for Kansas State. West Virginia wins again. They beat Baylor, who is just as bad as West Virginia. We play against Baylor in 2 weeks. Houston beats Arizona, who might be the weirdest team ever. I don't get Arizona. They don't make any sense to me. As for some of the other scores around the country, Toledo loses to Central Michigan, so I think that pretty much kills any chance of a MAC team making the playoff. And as it sits now, I think if Tulane runs the table, it'll be them. If they don't, I think Boise State is next up. If they don't run the table, which is possible given their injuries, I would think the winner of App State and Texas State in the Sun Belt Championship gets in. Maybe Liberty is a shot. And if it's not one of those 5 teams who's the Group 5 rep in the playoff, I would be shocked. So here's a look at the new college football playoff rankings. SMU jumps Miami. They're now the highest ranked team in the ACC at number 5. Alabama drops a couple spots. They did win their game. Can't say the same for us, though, moving all the way down to number 16. It feels like much of our progress throughout the season has been taken away with this ranking, and there are some 3 lost teams ahead of us, including USC and Alabama. As for your players of the week, Braden Traeger and Michael Williams. As for the Big 12, Jace Brown and Ben Bywater for BYU. As for the Heisman race, this ended up really interesting me. So there's a lot of movement here, and I disagree with most of it. I think Dylan Gabriel belongs on the list, but I don't think he should be in first. His numbers are really good, but I think part of the reason why he's been so successful is the system he's playing in. It's an easy Oregon offense. He gets to play with Evan Stewart, who I do think belongs on this list. Will Howard in second is crazy to me because his numbers aren't that good. He hasn't elevated this Ohio State team. What has he done that Kyle McCord didn't do? In third, we have Tessitoya McMillan, who's a fantastic player. I think he's the best receiving prospect in the draft, but his numbers are not good enough to be on this list. He only has 70 more yards this year than Luke Grimm. If you're going to put a receiver here, again, I think Evan Stewart from Oregon is the correct choice. I would argue the 2 best candidates on the list are the 2 guys at the bottom. Jordan Birch has been the best defensive player in the country. I like seeing the defensive guys get love. And then Kyron Drones should not be 5th. I think he should be way higher than this. Kyron Drones does have elite numbers, and he has elevated this Virginia Tech team. And there's a lot of really good quarterbacks who should be on the list who aren't. Haynes King has the numbers to be here, even though the team's success isn't really there. But what about Cameron Ward? What about Jalen Milroe? What about Jalen Daniels, who dropped off the list, even though I thought he had a good game against BYU? Of course, we are now out of the playoff picture, dropping to number 16. Now, obviously, if we make the conference championship and win that game, we'll still make the playoff. My question, though, is let's say we win out the rest of the regular season. We beat Colorado, we beat Baylor, but we lose to Utah and we finish 11-2. I think that would be the weird scenario where we'd be right on the edge of making it or not. So instead, we're currently slated to play in the Gasparilla Bowl against Louisville. Louisville's a good team, but hopefully we're playing in the playoff instead of the Gasparilla Bowl. Into Week 13, got some interesting matchups, particularly in the SEC. Kentucky, Alabama, and Oklahoma all have 3 losses. They're all pretty much fighting for their playoff lives. I'm also fascinated by Texas Tech and Oklahoma State because both of those teams have 2 losses in our conference, and those are the teams who are trying to catch us. As for us, of course, we'll be playing against Colorado. I'm not really sure what to make of this game because on one hand, the Buffaloes are really talented, but on another hand, they've lost 4 in a row. They've been playing some really bad football as of recent, but obviously we've got to be focused coming off our loss against BYU. We have a number of players having signed to the program, so I'm excited to reveal who they are in the next episode. And that'll wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.